All right, guys, welcome back to the ICE Project, going back to back on the podcast today. As always, brought to you in the Body Science Studio. I've been meaning to do this one for a little while. We talked about it probably about 6 months ago, didn't we? Yeah. Introducing Steve Dresler. What's up, bro?
Hey, bro. How are you?
Yeah, we've been sort of lining this up for a little while. Obviously, COVID happened. Got to meet him over a coffee one time and super impressed about his story. So I was like, fuck, let's get you on the podcast. So pumped to have you here, bro.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited.
So tell us a bit about yourself. Where'd you come from, name, marital status, all that sort of good stuff?
None of that. I'm Steve. I grew up in Yamba, Northern New South Wales for 16 years. And then I signed with the Titans, so I moved up to Palm Beach, Currumbin.
Yep.
Palmy boy, and finished my schooling there, and signed with Para after that, and moved down the day after school finished and moved into a footy house with Reedy and Dill and Austin. And the rest is history. Moved through the grades and ended up playing 20s and cup, and then done my knee a few too many times and got medically retired, and now turned that into Whatability.
What kind of kid were you growing up?
A little shit, I suppose.
Oh, yeah?
I suppose, I didn't really pass with great grades. I just got through and, enjoyed school and enjoyed hanging out with friends, and grew up, water skiing and motorbike riding, and, grew up on a farm. So shooting stuff, driving cars, and just being that typical little farm kid.
Big dude, bro. How big are you?
I'm 6'1", and
fuck off, you're 6'1". You're way bigger than that.
I'm 185 centimetres.
Yeah. Are you really? Yeah. I feel like you're standing over the top of me, bro.
I'm thick, man.
Yeah.
I'm thick.
So did you always sort of want to be a rugby league player growing up? Palm Beach is obviously a well-known rugby league school.
Yeah, so I, again, I grew up and that's all I knew. I played both union and league my whole life, and then when I went to Palm Beach and up there with the Titans development stuff, you sort of got to choose. So I, decided to choose rugby league and went there with Palm Beach, and I tried to get into Nudgee College and BBC, but got rejected there. Maybe that's because of my upbringing.
Grades?
Maybe. But then Palm Beach, went there and finished 10, 11 and 12 up there, and then, after I graduated, moved down to Para. And
that's pretty exciting, bro. What was it like? What was the sort of like moving down to not only Sydney but Parramatta? It's obviously a bit of a different place as well. Cool place, beautiful people, very cultural as well. What was it like moving down there?
Yeah, so I'd never seen sort of culture like that. I grew up, in a small country town. So
how big's your hometown?
5,000.
Oh shit! Yeah, so, tiny.
Yamba, it's a beautiful place, and I suppose it's only Australian. So I never sort of seen anything else. And then when I went to Palm Beach, that's still pretty,
a few Maldives here and there.
Australian, but yes, Maldives. But then moving to Para, obviously, it is eye-opening and it is different to what I knew, but it was great. Everything was good, and we lived in a house together, and we just did everything together, which was cool. And
what was your first injury?
ACL at 16.
Shit, that's pretty young, eh?
Yeah, did it against Coombaba State at Currumbin.
Yeah.
Done it there, and that one recovered really well, and I come back from that and my knee was great, and then the next two completely fucked me.
So you went from ACL to next ACL to ACL? Like, is that what happened?
Yeah.
On the same leg?
All on the same leg. So I went ACL. I've had a scaphoid break in the game. I've broken my finger over here, and I've had a shoulder surgery as well. But the main injuries were my knee and just the right knee.
Yeah. So what was it like sort of going through those sort of injuries? Obviously being young, you probably think I want to bounce back all the time and just keep getting hit in the face time after time. Did you struggle with that mentally or physically, or obviously being young as well and having ambitions to play NRL? It must be kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, man, obviously all I knew was football. I grew up with a dream to play in the NRL and I suppose be the best front rower, and, that was a big reason as to why I went to Parramatta, was because Nathan Kalis was my coach.
Yep.
So that's what drew me there, and my dream was to do that. And obviously it's tough as when you put your whole life into becoming something. When it fucks up, it's a lot. So I obviously turned all the wrong things and drinking and had a lot of dark nights. But I had a lot of good people around me in Dylan Reedy that we live with, and in the Para House with Dean Feeney. You might have heard of him. And they were,
he's a good lad, eh?
He's great.
I used to go for coffees and that with Normie, and he used to just rock up and have a chat.
Mate, he's a good lad. He was at that game against Keebra. So I played Palm Beach versus Keebra, and there was like 10,000 people there. That rivalry's like. And Dean Feeney was at the game, and then when I was on the bus driving home, Anthony Field called me the player guy at Parramatta. So he called me and said, mate, you know, Dean Feeney was at your game, you know, would you be keen to come down and check out our facilities? We're really keen. And off the kickoff, I broke my scaphoid. So I ran and hit the ground and broke my scaphoid in the kickoff. So Dino's a great bloke, Manny. You know, if it wasn't for him and bringing me in and you know, teaching me within personal football, welfare, everything, I suppose, you know, I wouldn't be here, and obviously what ability wouldn't be where it is also.
Got any stories on Dylan Brown and Reid Marnie?
Maybe we'll keep that offline.
What'd you learn about living with those guys? Obviously, they've gone on to do some pretty cool things. Reid's not far off Origin. Did you expect that from him? And Dylan Brown's one of those cool, vibey young dudes. And we were talking off air that he sort of reminds us of very much of a young normie. Lives life on and off the field. And yeah, we were talking about scope. I was like, fuck, that's normie to it. What'd you learn about hanging around those blokes?
Mate, well, we had a great house. Reedy's always been that driven.
He is, bro. He is.
Training on Christmas Day, training on all of them things when we went away, and he's always been self-driven and just, you know, a gun at training. And then there's Aussie there. He's at Cup at Tigers now, but he's a good one too. And Dill, obviously, he's just supernatural, man. He, you know, coming through the grades, 16s, 18s, 20s, you just saw something where he didn't try. Like everything,
that's annoying.
You know,
everything. Like
he did try. He did try. Like, mate, he trains very fucking hard. He's a, you know, fit, strong, you name it. But everything, you know, passing, running, just everything comes natural, and you can just see when you're around him. He's just got that relaxed vibe, and it helps him in every aspect of his life.
What's the biggest lessons you've learned from football that you've carried over to what you're doing now? In terms, you got a pretty big. We'll get into all of it very soon, but you got a pretty big team now. What have you learned that transfers over?
Mate, and this is where the opportunity come about is you'd see, and obviously you guys around here, is being an athlete, regardless of sport, them little 1%ers and them things you do in life set you up, regardless, again, of code or whatever that is. And that's where working with disability and doing them small things in life and realising that these people can't do too much, but when you put them little things in and just take them little things and go with them, it sets themselves up. So that's, you know, the biggest thing, I suppose, and why athletes are so important in what ability is they're able to do them little things but be fun and have a good time.
What's the little things you're talking about?
Just little discipline things like time management, not letting people get away with things. You know, we work with some kids that have tricky times and sometimes it's just about waiting them out, and you can wait them out for a long time, and I suppose being an athlete, you learn to be patient and learn to, you know, do them things in life.
One thing I've sort of struggled with, and you'd understand this really, really well, was like, you know, in football you just sort of blow up and kind of get on with it, and that's just kind of when you can't really do that sort of in the workplace. You can with certain people, like I could do it with Scope and would be sweet or normie, but you just can't do that with, say, someone like Simi, for example, who'll go into a shell, and it's just, I just always struggled with that a little bit, and I still do. Obviously when I'm angry I'll just get bang. And it's just like one of my biggest flaws as a business owner, I reckon.
Well, that comes obviously from being a halfback and being a leader on the field is, you know, I've sort of had to change my way, and not too much. Like, you know, I've always been pretty chilled and genuine and happy and
that country boy in you,
and just sort of taken that into the business. And, you know, we've got 16 full-time staff now, and you know, they all bring their little things, and that's the biggest thing I suppose you'd see as well is it's not about making someone, it's about letting them be them. And, you know, the more you can empower people to be themselves and be better, of course they're going to be better for the business and better for you and better for everyone else.
That's awesome, bro. So what ability, where did the idea come from? How long did it start from? Obviously, was it hard to say that you've done with football? Was that hard to announce? Do you know, when I said it to myself, because I knew I was a little bit older, stuff like that, but I remember when I said it to myself for the first time, it felt like a weight was off my shoulder, and I was thinking it already. Did you have that one moment, or was it a collection?
It's definitely a collection, man. I still love it. Like, I still feel that, you know, I still go, fuck, can I go back and play? But when every now and again, when my knee's feeling really good, I'll try something and it fucks it, pushes me back months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just swells up and just blows up and does all that. But I suppose I was at Giant Steps. So a lot of the Eels actually have a great program there. And when I signed my last deal there, and when I done my knee, the club put me in charge of that program. We had 10 boys there at the time. Oregon, Ray Stone, Sean Kepi across at Manly now, doing all of that stuff. And the club sort of put me in charge of that, and the school, had that program, and we sort of seen the benefits of young males in the disability sector and just bringing that fun element. And the club had that connection there and signed a contract, I suppose, with them, and the school wouldn't allow other people to come in, other clubs and stuff. So I sort of saw the benefits of the young athletic in the sector. So I thought, why don't I start a little disability service for just us boys at the school? This was all it was supposed to be. It was only supposed to be for the boys at the school and the kids at the school. And, then I started Instagram and posted all what we did. And we only did that fun stuff. Only went surfing, swimming, bushwalks. Got a jet ski now that we take the kids on. And it was only supposed to be small, and then all of a sudden, started getting emails from people in Sydney going, wow, like young men, young males looking after kids with disability, because it's unheard of. Like males in the disability sector isn't that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not really, heard of too much.
Hey, sorry, quick question. Was there anyone in your family that had disability, or was there? What about a kid at school that you sort of attached yourself? There wasn't any?
Dean Feeney.
Yeah.
Fucking threw me in there.
Yeah.
So I went to the Para House, and I was actually the first guy that Para put at the school. Me, Kurt DeLewis across at Manly, and another young guy. And we went there and hated it. Hated it. I was just 17, just about to turn 18, and I was, obviously we work with mild kids, and then we work with complex participants. And obviously the complex ones still wear nappies or, can't shower themselves or can't eat themselves. And then we've got, mild ones that can do everything and go to school and speak out the languages potentially and things like that. And I was in that complex area, and I was just about to turn 18, and I was showering kids, and I was like, wow, what is this? And the first week I hated it.
That'd be weird, eh?
Mate, it was tough, and I used to go home, like back to the Para House, and Dean Feeney used to go, mate, get up, go to work, see ya, and sort of push me. And then after that, man, I just fell in love. You sort of see the impacts of what we're doing on these kids and on these, not only the kids, but the families and the individuals involved with these people. But yeah, so back to where we were was the kids, we saw the benefits of that. So I thought, why don't I start a professional, semi-professional athlete disability service? And obviously, Reedy Marnie was on there. Dill Brown does a lot of work. Cristiano across at the Giants. Shawnee Kepi across at Manly does a lot. Luki Garner. Both Matty Proud, Paige Hadley, they're about to sign up and do some work. Lauren Chattel from the Sixers. So we've got a lot of professional athletes that bring that presence. But then, a lot of them are them 20s and reserve graders that have to be able to work to play. Yep. The NRL had that great rule when we were coming through was you have to work or learn to be able to play. I don't know if that was the thing when you come through, but the 20s had that. So,
some dodgy ones going about, eh?
Yeah, well, the TEA allowances and stuff. So the players, I chose to work, and obviously everyone else does uni or whatever, but we all worked at the school, and mate, it was great. Like, what we did, we got paid to put smiles on faces, and
that made you feel good,
mate, and great. And that's just an extension now of what we do. Is whether it's regardless of Dylan or Cristiano or all these players that come through, your job isn't to change or make or do anything different. Your job is to simply put a smile on that kid's face and take them out. And if they're laughing or if they're having a good time, you've done your job.
What do you think professional sports people get out of the back of it? Do you reckon it's a bit of perspective, realising it's not always about them? Well, what is the biggest benefit you see in that?
Mate, it's everything. I think, so like I said before, we work with a lot of complex participants that can't read, can't write, can't talk, but then we work with a lot of mild that can do everything. And the thing in common that they all can do is they all can jump, swim, laugh, play, give that affection. And, prime example, Dylan is he works with a lot of participants, and some ones that he works with can't read, can't write, can't talk. They don't know who he is. They couldn't give a shit. But Dylan's energy, his vibe, his chilledness, his just relaxed person around these kids gives them a sense of, a sense of belonging, a sense of, calmness around him, and they're able to go to bowling or flip out or time zone or go do these things and not feel stressed.
So when did you feel, obviously from starting, do you have anyone in your family who was a business owner or anything like that? Or
no, my mum doesn't work, and my old man drives trucks.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't know where
yeah,
it's
you
come
just
from.
sort of
Just went there, and obviously I had a lot of good people around me, and I've just always been driven. Like I had a firewood business when I was in high school.
A what, sorry?
A firewood business on the Gold Coast.
Oh, yeah.
So my old man had it, and he was, and then eventually I took over when he bought a truck and was doing that, and I did that in year 11 and 12, and made over 100K in like year 11 and 12.
Fuck, that's
all cash too, because I was selling all these firewood. So before school, after school, I was chopping it, I was making it, and then I was buying it by the 50 ton at a time in semi trailers, getting a yard, selling them in. I had all the boys working for me.
So you've always had a bit of an entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah, always sort of had that in me. And I suppose this has just brought it out in me, and I get to put smiles on faces. And I suppose, happiness comes first is what our motto is and what one of our values are. So
what's you said you rocked up here a little bit, not late, but just on time. You got a house going up. What's that story about?
So obviously, one of these kids, his dad complained of stomach pain. So he woke up in the morning and couldn't move. While I was 3 weeks ago, I was at a quarantine camp. One of our kids became a close contact. And these kids can't be at home. Some kids can't be at home with their families by themselves. Like they're only there during the night for sleeping. And then they're either at school or they're out with us on weekends. And he became a close contact. So he had to isolate regardless. There was no getting around it. So me and two other boys, so 3 on 1, took him away and booked a house for 14 days. And on day 12 or 13, the mum rang me and said, look, Dad's had a surgery. He's got a busted bowel. So now for the next 3 months, he's got a bag. I don't know what it's called, but he's got a bag for the next 3 months, and he obviously can't go home. If the son sees the bag, he'll try and pull it out. They can't even have a Christmas tree in the house. They can't change the photos on the wall because he will put them back to where they were. So I've booked a house for the next 3 to 6 months because he has the next surgery at the 3-month mark, and then it's however long that takes to recover. So I've booked a house, and the boys are out there. We're all rotating, and I did the sleepover shift last night and left out there. And once we got him in the car, he got up early, got up at 5, just after 5. So showered him and got him in his school clothes, and then, took off, and he can't wait around too long. So we get him in the car and just go for a drive, and I'm over here.
Fuck, that's crazy. Yeah, it's a crazy start to the day, man. Fuck, good on you, man. You're a good dude. What's the sort of end goal for Whatability? How many kids you look after? How many staff have you got? What's the dream, bro?
Man, I suppose it's all new. The disability sector is so broad. And this is where a lot of providers get in trouble is they do everything, transport, community access.
So you class as a provider? Is that
yeah, so we're an NDIS, a disability support service that's NDIS approved. So we are a disability support service that specialises in community access, one-to-one support and camps. We run about 20 camps across the year.
What's a camp look like?
So camp usually is a week, but the kids will generally stay for 2 nights, 3 days. So they'll pick up on the Monday. They'll go up there. We'll go out. We'll go time zone. We'll go lunch, and then we'll go home, campfire, sleep, and then wake up, do it all again, and then sleep, and then the kids will go home. And some of these kids can't. That's a big challenge for them. They've never stayed away, and some parents, we had the one kid of 3 camps ago. The kid's 16 and has never spent a night away from home ever in his life. The parents have never had a night off in 16 years.
Who was it harder for, the kids or the parents?
The mum.
Yeah.
And the parents. They stayed 5 minutes around the corner from the camp.
Just in case.
At a hotel. And I said, I'm not calling you. Don't bother, there's no point you coming because I'm not going to call you. So they built up the courage for that. Now he comes on every camp. Now he's, and that's, the anxiety and the stuff that these parents have and letting go. And, the more that we can keep these kids at home and in a safe and happy environment, because, the first thing that people want to do is move them out into a SIL or into a home care. And, I believe in, and Whatability's philosophy is the more that we can keep these kids at home around their family, around their mum and dad and family, the better their life's going to be. And we do a lot of camps, and that's what I keep saying to everyone is we all play our vital roles in these kids' lives, and whether you're a doctor, teacher, therapist, support worker, you all play your vital role, and that's where community access and happiness is so important because, we as neurotypical people forget to have fun and forget to do them little things, and that's where Whatability's been so successful is because doing them little things and being happy, going swimming or going on a jet ski or going to time zone and just being happy for that moment helps every other aspect of your life. And that's, sometimes we forget about it and we're so busy to first to tell and say, go do this, you should be doing speech, OT and all of that stuff and take medication and do that. But sometimes when you step back and just go, the simple things in life solve a lot of problems.
A swim solves everything, eh?
Especially down at Bondi.
Yeah, morning swim solves everything.
But, again, salt water. Right? The beach, these kids, we've got a few kids that will just swim for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours and not get out of the water. But it's crazy. You've probably seen young Paige down at Bondi at the boat ramp. She's always down there off the boat ramp with kids, with staff every afternoon. She's out there and the locals know her now. We've had a few incidents where police have come and thinking she's drowning because, obviously typically autism, they do flap or they do stim in the water and they, have the time of their lives. But to someone that doesn't know it, it looks like they're drowning. So the lifeguards know her name now. The lifeguards know her. 2 years ago, I went and gave all the Bondi, Coogee, Cronulla, all the lifeguards like our cards and our name and said, look, this is particularly this kid Paige, gave her a card and a photo and said, look, she does do this in the water. So if you know that, if you get a phone call, because we were down at Bondi once on the boat ramp swimming.
You talking about Ben Buckler?
Yeah, Ben Buckler on the boat ramp. Out there. And she was in the water by herself swimming and, stimming and stuff. And there's this lady over there yelling out and pointing. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm standing here. I'm like 5 meters away from her in the water. She's swimming right there and I'm on the rocks. And she thought I was just looking at her drowning. And next minute there's ambulance, 2 cop cars come flying down around the corner and then they run down and they're like, who's drowning? Someone's drowning. And the lady just walked off. Didn't even come say hello. Didn't even ask.
Yeah.
So
thought she was doing the right thing though, wasn't she?
And people, I always tell people to let them do what they want. If people have a problem with it, let them, complain. And we've had that multiple complaints to the police and facts and everything like that. And that's part of it because people don't understand it.
When I first spoke to you, you sort of had a dream about the Easter show. How was that? Do you remember talking about that? Yeah,
well, we took 16 kids to the Easter show and that was a bit of a chaos.
The thought of that stresses me out, eh?
Yeah, well, and this is where we need to get better at being inclusive because, the Easter show was absolutely crazy and I think they could sacrifice one day and, only allow people with disability in there for a 6-hour period and let their mums and siblings and people come. But it was there and kids were getting lost and kids were going upset because there's so many people and there's so much happening. And this is where, as a society, we need to get more inclusive and cater for these people. Yeah,
100%. I think, like you said, it's stressful just going there as like a grown adult. And even if you've got a partner, waiting in lines and stuff like that. Are you close to that goal or are you going to make it happen or what?
Well, I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but the foundation. So we're about to launch a foundation at the new Combank Stadium, which you'll get an invite to. It's on the 3rd of December, so International People with Disability Day. And I suppose the NDIS does an incredible job with support and therapy and base like that. So, but they won't pay for an experience because that's a normal person can pay for that. And anyone can go and get a job and pay for, an experience. So Whatability Foundation is launching at Combank Stadium. On the field, we've got 10 different providers and charities with 100 kids and adults with disability playing sports with the NRL, Rugby AU will come and Netball Australia, and we're just going to play clinics and just have fun for an hour. And then in the corporate lounge, we've got a panel about the power of sport and community and how we can create an inclusive community. And we've got a locker room where we're going to unlock some experiences and stuff like that. But the foundation is there to help people access the community more. So it's going to partner with the likes of Luna Park, Time Zone, Fun Lab, Dream World, the Village Roadshows up in Queensland, a lot of sporting bodies and get tickets and stuff donated to send people with disability and their families to them for free.
Yeah, that's cool.
And there's the bigger goals within that in a couple of years to open a few warehouses with Goodmans and build a few camp places and stuff that people and their families can visit. But the short-term goals and the goals right now is to unlock community experiences. That's the tagline of it. And, so we're going to do that across the country.
So is that a massive hurdle in society right now?
Well, yeah. So, something like a Luna Park ticket is $50. It's out of reach. For people like me and you, it's probably nothing, or it's it's something we can just give. But people with a disability, as soon as you have a person with a disability and come in your life, all of your attention, financial, everything goes to that. And again, something like Luna Park, Brighton today. I got one of my mentors. She bounced around and didn't complete high school, but now she's a CFO. And she didn't go to uni, she's a CFO, and she's in a high roller in the financial world. But she said when I was 12 years old, I was in a foster kid and I got taken to Dreamworld, and it was like a fairy tale land, and it opened my world up and realised there's more. So that's what the foundation is going to do, man. It's just going to partner with all of them, and that's for everyone. That's not for Whatability participants. You know, we're going to use higher up kids, Northcott, Afford, any person across the country or any, you know, family member can sign up, apply, and it all depends on a few criteria, things we're still working out. But yeah, that's in the pipelines and it launches at CommBank.
Got a bit going on, bro.
Mate, lots going on. It's all good, man. It's all about happiness. So, you know, when you're a corporate and you got this multi-million-dollar company, you're all about deadlines and getting shit done. But you know, our job's to put happiness on faces.
It's a good goal to have as a business, isn't it?
You know, if, like I said to the staff, if your kid's not smiling, you're doing your job wrong.
Yeah.
If they're not, you know, and that's where we've set it up perfectly from the start. The parents, we're not a therapist, we're not teachers, we're not doctors, we're not anything like that. We're simply a community access-based business where we just go and do that fun stuff.
We kind of have a similar business philosophy here. Like when we make content, and like if we're trying to entertain or educate, if we're not trying to put all our effort into that, we're not doing our job. And all good things come off the back of that for us as well. So it's sort of, obviously you're probably helping a lot more people than us, but man, it definitely works, doesn't it?
Mate, you know, exactly. And I suppose that comes back to doing them little things in life, and who doesn't want to be happy?
What's your biggest struggle as a business owner? Where's your strengths and where's your weaknesses? Let's go self-aware here.
You've put me on the spot here. My biggest weakness is needing shit to be done. Like, I want stuff done and I'm very fast.
Yeah.
But as life and as a business owner, sometimes things take time, which that's my...
I can see you getting worked up. I can see you getting worked up over it, bro. Look at his face getting red.
I'm getting all red over it. But that's probably my biggest thing, man, is I'm very driven and like just to get shit done, but sometimes, you know, it just can't.
Hurry up.
That's my thing.
Strength?
Strength is, I suppose, you know, this is a funny story, is I got introed through one of my mentors to
how many you've seen?
I've got about 4. Yeah.
What's so you got a CFO? Who's your other ones?
CFO, where she works with a lot of my financial team and my general manager as well. But then I've got another one. He's an executive coach. He's a coach with a lot of banks and stuff like that. And I met him just through a mate, and you know, he doesn't charge me or my team. He just said, mate, you know, whatever. He was hit by our story as soon as I met him. And then I've got another one that is very high up in the disability space, and she was a principal for a long time. And then another one that was a head of BAT, British American Tobacco, and for 30 or 40 years, and he got a brain hemorrhage, so he got medically retired. But he gets his annual salary for the rest of his life, so he just sits there and I pay him a coffee and just let's go through it. But yeah, so I got introed through one of my mentors to his lawyer because I'm restructuring and redoing stuff before we expand, and we'll touch on that in a second. And he introduced me to a CEO of a company that owns 16 providers. So it's like the DAG company of 16 providers across Australia. They turn over $1.6 billion in the disability space a year.
Shit.
Anyway, so when I met him, he said, I went to his fucking office and he's looking down on the Harbour Bridge, and I said, you know, and he said, Steve, I've already heard of you and I've heard of Whatability before I got introduced to you. Whatability is the biggest thing coming through in the disability space because you are just putting that fun element first, and that happiness comes first.
What do other providers normally do?
Oh, like I said before, everyone sort of does everything.
Yeah.
Transport, in-home, OT, therapy, community access, whereas we solely just do community access, and that allows us to not deviate from our business and our, you know,
the happiness goal.
Yeah, and just, you know, because again, when you're a therapist or a doctor or an OT, you're expected to make change. Yeah. That's, you know, it's all about KPIs and it's all about data and it's all about everything else. Whereas, you know, happiness, if they're smiling, you've done your job. You know what I mean?
It's a good little KPI, isn't it? Wait, you smile? Wait, smile quickly? We're on. What's your favourite story from one of your people that you look after? Do you have one that sort of sticks out that you always remember? I've had a few with us, and I know we're only a clothing brand, but some of them have been crazy, bro. Like one of the ones where, like, there was a kid who loved our brand so much and he ended up committing suicide, and his mum buried him in YKTR stuff. Like that shit always sort of sticks out to me, which is like full on. We've had a few of those stories. Like I wouldn't say that's my favourite, but something like that really sticks out to me. Like obviously you don't want to celebrate death, but it's crazy to think that they thought of
an
us in that
impact you
moment,
have.
bro. Yeah. So do you have, obviously they don't have to go that deep,
Yeah.
do you have any sort of standout stories?
I suppose, everything. Once parents not accept but understand what they've got or what their child has got, their world opens up and they're able to understand and go, shit, if my kid can just laugh and swim and be happy, that's more to life than, unfortunately, if they can't do much, the odds of them being able to do much in the long run is very low. And once they accept that, young Paige, she'll swim for 5, 6, 7 hours of a day and go to Chuggle Charlie's and eat chips, and that's fucking made her day, man. And then,
The Bondi Dream, that.
we've obviously just got a partnership with Chuggle Charlie's.
Have
well.
you?
Yeah, so we just launched that, and there's a couple more about to be announced, and which is really exciting. But I suppose, the impact that we're having on these kids, and like I said, everyone plays their vital role, but parents go, fuck, you're just making my kids smile. You're just giving me a sense of my kids actually doing what they want to do in life.
You give the parents a day off too, eh?
Yeah, well, mate, we've got, again, like that one particular kid, he's out on Christmas Day because he doesn't understand. He put a Christmas tree in there, he'll rip it out and put it outside, throw it out. So we deal with a lot of complex kids that, or a lot of complex participants that just need that. But then we deal with, mild kids and participants that, doing the HSC and work at Woolies and drive a car and, play golf. And
It's exciting, bro. So what's the end goal? Like, tell me the end goal.
well, right now we're just in Sydney and we're just, keeping that simple element of it. And we are going to go to the Gold Coast and Brisbane, and I'll fly up there already and see the Titans and Bronx and stuff. And we're going to open up a Queensland office early next year, whether that's Jan, Feb, March, and then Melbourne later on in the year. So, what we do is pretty simple, and that's where we've had, I've had so many, investors try and invest, and they're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
They just want to chuck their money in and put their name behind it, but it's
just to make themselves
just
feel
to
good.
make them, to them feel good. But we're about to lock in some partners and sponsors on our cars. We've got 8 company cars that drive around.
I see them, bro. I see them.
Everywhere. Yeah. I've just had 3 written off in the last week though.
Oh, really? Staff?
Nah, a truck hit one of the staff driving, and then the other two kids. So the complex kids, one of the kids ripped off the rear view mirror. And it was electric.
Yeah.
And it pulled all the wiring out, and they can't get wires in for 8 weeks or something from Japan.
Yeah.
So, they've just gone and wrote it off. And then the other one, a kid he's a new participant. He's never had service in 16 years, and he's in a new medication regime, and he's, a really tricky one anyway. He's fucking destroyed the inside of my roof lining. Plastics are all smashed, doors smashed out, windows, no window. It's out there if you want to have a look at it after.
That's just going to happen.
But again,
eh?
that's part of it, man.
Yeah,
I said,
100%.
we deal with such a range, and they can't control that. Again, that needs to be fixed medically, or again, sometimes we can, with what we do, the behaviours and they subside, but they never disappear. They're disabled. They're going to have times of distress and anxiety and be upset and do all of them things. And the sooner that we accept that and understand that, the better. Like I said, we have kids have meltdowns in parks or in cafes and throw plates. And I know, the container out west and Big Georgie there, he ends up giving us paper plates from now on because we've had so many smashed plates and cups. But, again, more places like that, the better.
Last question, favourite place to eat in Bondi?
Raw bar.
Ooh, going fancy, bro. Going fancy. I like it. It's one of my favourite places to eat as well.
Beautiful.
All right, bro, I want to thank you for jumping on in your time by doing great things, and I can't wait to see you succeed.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited.
Okay.